Hi everybody, my name is Jim with fullmoonadventureclub.com, and today we're going to be going over how to heat our water pump cabinet inside my RV without using heat tape or heating pads. This might work for some of you, but it probably won't work for all of you. This is the problem that I was having in my RV, and I'll just take you out there and show you this because I was out there while it was really cold during a snowstorm with the heat on, and I realized this problem was going on because we had the water pump freeze even though the heat was up really high inside the RV. So let's check it out. Okay, I'd just like to show you guys something right here. As you can see, it's about 71 degrees inside the RV. You know, give or take, depending on where I'm pointing this guy. But the point is, it's nice and toasty in here. And now I would like to move over to my water pump compartment, which has been completely sealed this entire time. Let's see how cold that water pump is. Freezing. Everything in here is freezing. The water heater, well, it's insulated, so it's a little bit better. Let's do the pipe on the water heater, which is turned off, by the way. But the main point is that right there. All of this area is below freezing, and the warm air is starting to, pour into there. But so that's freezing out there, and then as we move to the rest of the RV, nice and toasty. That's the problem. So as you can see, it was really toasty warm inside the RV, but the fresh water tank compartment and the water pump compartment were both 32 degrees. And the last time I took it out in even colder conditions, they did end up freezing, just barely. And I always thought as long as the heat was on really well inside the RV that I wouldn't have a problem with the freshwater tank or the water pump compartment located beneath the benches. That was not the case. Without any kind of airflow or ventilation in those two spaces, they were just getting completely freezing cold from the underneath of the RV and everything else. I don't have a winterized package on my RV at all. So that was the problem, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to fix this problem if I'm ever going to use this RV full time or in the cold while boondocking or anything like that. So the reason that I went with this fan install idea that I came up with is because I have a heating pad, and on the gray tank and black tank of my RV that I did an install video on, they each draw around 6 to 7 amps when they're turned on. My furnace takes 6 amps when it's turned on, so that's a really large amount of power. I went from using 6 amps at night, just running the furnace, to 12, and then to 18 amps to run this system, and that's an incredible power draw when you're boondocking. If you're plugged into shore power, no big deal, but boondocking, huge deal. So now, lo and behold, I need to put heat tape on my water pump and probably another heating pad underneath the fresh water tank. That's just too many amps for me, so I came up with this idea. Basically, I'm going to turn those into just ventilated boxes so that they share the heat inside the RV. So I used these small computer fans and these covers to just basically drill holes into it and then have air circulating through there to equalize the temperature. So now they're getting the same benefit as the rest of the RV. They're just not closed off. They're getting that nice circulation of air. And one thing I will tell you is that when you're cooling a computer, you want the exhaust up top because heat's going to rise, and you want the intake down low because that's where the cool air is. So that's going to go in and replace the hot air. For this, I want to heat the area up, so I did it opposite. My intake fan is up as high as I could get it on the cabinet, and my outtake fan is as low as I can because it's going to pull out all that cold air that's in there. So it gives you a nice circulation effect, and that's how I did it. So we're going to jump right into the quick install, as quick as I could make it. It's kind of a big video, but we're going to do the installation of the fans, and then we're going to show you how well they worked at the end to see if this is something that you could use to heat pretty much any cabinet inside your RV that you need heated that's freezing despite your furnace being on. So I thought it was a cool idea to share. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't, but let's get into the install right now. So here I already had some wire run in case I ever wanted to use that third rocker switch for my True Heat panel right there, which is going to work out great for this. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. That wire goes into my control box, which I'm going to hook up to some more yellow wire and run along the entire length of the RV. So I'm going to go ahead and connect that and run it over to my cabinet that I'm going to be putting the fans into. You want to make sure you have no obstructions underneath before you drill. Drill your hole, pass it up through. Use some PVC protective sleeve to make sure that that wire is not going to get chopped up, and you're good to go. What we're going to do is pick our hole saw that's as big as we can get it without going over. So you don't want it to be any bigger than that. And you especially don't want it to be too big for your cover to hide it. So it definitely needs to be smaller than your cover plate here, which it is. So for us, that size is 3 inches or 76 millimeter. These are 80-inch fans, but that's okay. Now what we want to do is mount our fan somewhere right in there in the corner. So I think what we're going to do is just kind of take the hole saw and pull away a little bit, so we make sure that our hole is going to be in the right area, and our fan will sit right in this area right here. You can measure, but I'm just going to guesstimate. I think we'll be just fine. You want to be really careful not to go too fast or you'll destroy this. On the other side, it'll peel and get all messed up. So what we're going to do is go until the drill pops out, and then we'll go from the other side in. So now that we have that hole, we can use it as a guide for this side. You want to go real slow at first. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to center up our fan. You want to make sure you know which way the air is going to be coming in. We want this to be pulling air in, so for us the label is going to face out. You really only need 2 screws, but feel free to put 2 more on if you like. Now we're just going to screw in the cover plate, and you need to be real careful with these plastic ones because if you over tighten it's going to snap them. So just screw that into place, be nice and careful, and you're going to be good to go. Now I didn't run a ground because I knew there'd be a ground for the water pump, and sure enough, here it is. It's the white cable coming in connected to the black ground on the water pump. So I disconnected those. Then we're going to share that ground. These are just little tiny fans, so it's not a big deal. Now the fans come with these little connectors for the PC, but we don't need that, so we're going to cut those off, and then we need to separate these wires to connect them up. I think a razor knife is probably the easiest way to go about that. Just kind of get in between them there. Get things started a little bit. Then you should be able to pull them apart. There are 3 wires here, but we only need 2. Okay, so here's the deal. Basically, with these 3 lines here, you have one with a little tiny white stripe on it, little dashes. And that's going to be our negative. And so I hooked that one up to our negative right here. And then you can go ahead and turn on the power to your cable to take a 12-volt power source. And just check these out because they're not labeled. So we get nothing with that one. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we do this one and we have fan and I can feel the wind blowing. So that's going to be the one that we connect right here. And we can take this 3rd guy and just cut it off, get it out of the way. It's just unnecessary, so we're not going to be using it. You can cut off whatever access you want, tape it up, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't do much except relay fan speed to the computer. So now we know which one is negative and positive. We can wire these in more permanently, and then we can make all of our wires look pretty and continue on with the other 3 fans. So here's pretty much the finished product inside this cabinet. You can see I've got my wires kind of secured and out of the way. There's another fan over there, and I had to come in from the back with my screws because this is very thin right here, so I could just hold on the plate. I put on the plate first, and then kind of backed out all the screws and made sure they went through, and just kind of held it in place there. And I've got my wires running over here and over here to the other fan. And we are good to go. Okay, and this is just going to be a noise check for the fan. You're about 2 feet away from it. I'm going to click it on. Okay, now I want to show you why I placed these where I did. You can see one's over here in the corner, kind of up top, up high, so that the hot air that's higher up is going to get sucked inside. And then the other vent is over there down below, because cold air is going to fall and that's going to get sucked out. I was originally going to put both fans on this inside so you wouldn't really see them. But as we look over here, you can see my water tank on this side, my freshwater tank, is right against that wall. And it's pretty hard to move it without a lot of rigmarole. So if you'll notice, it has a nice channel of space right behind it all the way across. And so, well, guess what? That's where I put that fan right there. And that's going to blow the air all through this space right here and around that corner, where it's going to get sucked out by that fan right there. So it'll create a nice little movement of air all along the back side of it there. That's going to help keep that whole back area warmer. And this side right here is usually kept pretty warm just from the wood, kind of the temperature moving through the wood with the heater on in here. And this rarely freezes. I've only had it freeze maybe twice with a little bit of water in it. And that's really extreme conditions, like 15 degrees, real windy. And we had the temperature pretty low in here. So with this all covered up with the plywood and the, the bench seats, there was just nothing to keep that space warm in there at all. So from underneath the RV and everything else was just making it really cold in there, and it froze. So I think this is really going to help us out, and we'll test this real soon. So there we go. There they all are, installed and running. Looking pretty spiffy. No more frozen pipes or tanks. Well, it's currently a blizzard outside. Blizzard warning going on. So I think it's the perfect time to see if this fan system actually works. So it's currently about 37 degrees in here. 36, 35. And it's going to be the same temperature inside this compartment. I'll shoot the laser beam in there. Yeah. So everything's 36 degrees. Now we're going to turn on the heater up to about 70. Let it get nice and toasty in here, and then we'll see how well this works. Okay, well, let's see how it's doing in there. Okay, let's try this guy out here. So as you can see inside the RV here, it's around 56, 60 degrees around there, about 60. It's not quite up to 70 yet, but to demonstrate my point, everywhere inside the RV is, around 55, 60 degrees. It's nowhere near freezing, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make here. So we can see on the chair here, 56, up here, 60. Now let's see how cold it is in my water pump compartment. If we just kind of scoot this forward, there's a little gap right there that goes right in, and we'll just do that. It's almost freezing in there. 32 degrees. So if I had water in the system, which I don't right now, it would be almost freezing in there. Yep. Okay, now let's kick on the fans and see what happens. Okay, so it's still, 60 degrees in here, 62, 64. Let's go ahead and check in here again. Let's shine that light in there. 54. That's not bad. Only about 6 degrees from being the same temperature outside. Let's just go ahead and pull this cushion off and open it up. I'm not going to keep wasting all my propane heating this all night. It's obvious it works. But let's see what the water pump and stuff is. Just with my hand, it feels pretty much the same. But let's check out the water pump here. 55 degrees. The floor is 52. The pipes, 55. Pretty much everything. 55 degrees, yeah. So that's awesome. It's a lot better than being 32 degrees in here. Even the metal water pump is 56. And of course, it's going to start climbing because I just pulled off the top. But that's success. That's total success. And the fans are doing their job and moving the air right through there. Now let's check out the fresh water tank side. Looks like we got 50 degrees in there. Yeah. That's just fine. It's better than 32. Okay, so this is working really well, and the reason that I like it so much is because adding heat tape or another tank heater could possibly consume another 12 amps of power to keep those two things heated. And all four of these little tiny Arctic fans consume about half an amp. So 0.5 amps, maybe even a little less. That's awesome. And they do the same job as long as the heater's on inside the RV. And if we're in it, chances are the heat's going to be on, which is awesome. One thing I will say about these fans, this is an 80 millimeter. And when I was first looking around, I didn't really measure the sizes in inches or do the conversion. So this is a 120 millimeter fan, which is what I got first. And it's just huge. So this is an 80 millimeter, and that's a lot better. I didn't want to drill holes this big all over my RV, so I'd go with the 80 millimeter. Also, I was going to check out these little dust covers. They're magnetic, and they keep the dust out, so you can pull them off and wash them or whatever and kind of keep your fans free of dust. But they cut down the airflow by like 70%, and that's why I went with the weird little dragon decorative covers, which I thought were metal, but they're actually plastic, pretty cheap plastic. But as long as they don't get slammed into, they're going to be just fine. I will put a link in the description for all these fans and stuff in case you want to do the exact same project. You can use this to heat any cabinet you want. We may even put one on the pantry because we noticed we put bananas in there and we were camping in freezing conditions, and that whole pantry got really cold and the bananas just turned brown overnight, like black. They froze almost. So our pantry needs to be heated a little bit as well. But you can use this for a lot of different applications. It may work for you, it may not. I'm loving it. It's incredibly quiet. These guys are completely drowned out by the sound of the furnace kicking on or anything. You can barely tell they're on. So it's not a big problem for noise, and the power consumption is 0.5 amps, which is way better than like 12 using heat tape or a pad under the fresh tank. So working great. If you like it, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll put the links for stuff like that down below. My name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club, and until the next video, thanks so much for watching, and happy camping.